Boys and girls, what is going on? It's your boy Peter here, aka Peter Freako 10, baby. Bring you guys another episode of the Movie Review Show, where the good movies are always reviewed. Okay, back into our movie review, and boy oh boy is it a fine ass day outside. Hotter than hell. Perfect day to go and do some sports. But if you guys don't feel like doing any sports, sit down because we're talking about a sports movie today. Because, hey, it counts. Get involved in sports in some way. But what type of sports? You see, the film industry has touched upon many different sports and genres across, whether it be baseball, soccer, basketball, skateboarding. Hell, even football has had the cow scored a million times for a sport film that involves football. So it's been done. But today's movie involves a particular sport that nobody knows about. Today's sport is one that is played in various auditoriums without anybody's knowledge. It's played underground, for that matter. That's how secretive it is. And we got the first tape of what it looks like. Well, technically you had to go to a theater for it, but still got a view of it. And we're going to see how it is today. Now, in order to get this across, what do you get when you cross a basketball and a baseball? And you get the mechanics and the rules, whatever they're called, for the game. And you get the guys who did South Park. Well, you get BASEketball, baby. Yep, we are talking about BASEketball today. How does this go? Well, grab your BASEketball suits if you can find one, get to the nearest stadium, and let's talk about BASEketball. Now, BASEketball, this is a film made in 1998, and this was written and directed by David Zucker. Now, David Zucker, this is a guy who's a huge name in the comedy genre. He's done a lot of great parody films such as Airplane, the Naked Gun trilogy, and he's had his hand in producing and writing a few other ones. High School High in particular, which I like. I'll review that another time, though. But this film in particular, the idea for this movie came from a game aptly named BASEketball that David and his friends invented back in the 80s. He attempted to get a TV show going of this movie and even had a pilot film starring Chris Rock, but that never got far. It wasn't until later on when he got a gig at Universal Pictures that he decided to make his first movie there. A movie about this game that he played with his friends. So David Zucker wrote the script based on this game and showed it off to Universal, who liked the idea and allowed the film to go forward, giving him a budget of $25 million. And the original idea for this movie was actually to get Chris Farley to be in it. But it's unclear exactly what happened. Either he turned it down or this was around the time he sadly passed away. When that plan fell through, David Zucker came upon Trey Parker and Matt Stone. They had just started their hit TV show South Park and would approach the idea of making a movie. They agreed to it as they were under the impression that South Park at the time was going to get canceled. And they agreed to do it only if they could fine-tune the script to suit their comedy style. Universal saw what they did, allowed the script to go forward. Hell, with the rewrites, Trey and Matt even got their friend Idris Bader involved. I believe that's how you say his name. But they got to work shooting the film. In fact, some of the players who are in the movie, the actors, are actually David Zucker's childhood friends who helped invent the game with him. They shot the film on sets they built, but they also shot in real arenas. This made it hard for Trey and Matt because during the making of this movie, South Park became Comedy Central's most beloved show, and they had to jump back and forth between photography on this movie and working on South Park, resulting in no sleep for the duo as they had to help on principal photography for this movie. Hell, there's even some South Park references in this movie. But they got through it and finished the movie just in the nick of time for it to be released. I know Maxim in their July-August issue did a contest to promote the movie. Sadly, though, the film opened on July 31st and it crashed and burned opening to number 11 at the box office, grossing only over $3 million. Why? Probably because Saving Private Ryan was still riding the top wave, so pretty much going to get pulled from theaters. And I don't think critical reception played a part, because you look on Rotten Tomatoes, it is a 41%, so it's more in the mixed category. Some critics thought the film was funny, other critics just felt the film just tried to buy laughs through shock. In particular, Roger Ebert, who awarded the movie 1.5 stars. The audience hasn't bought into that, though, as on that side it is a 74%, on IMDb it is a 6.5 out of 10. Now, I'm going to say, this is one that when I first heard about it, saw the trailer about it, I thought it sounded dumb. I didn't think it looked funny, I thought the commercial looked stupid. But hearing that Trey and Matt were involved, and I enjoy South Park a lot, really looking forward to checking out the movie, I was interested to see what they would offer to the table, especially since they were revealed to have some hands in the script. So I was interested in seeing what they would touch up and what they added to the idea. That I thought it was dumb, but I thought their touch here would smarten it up. So I took a night out to see it, and I'm going to say this. I enjoyed it. No, it's not on the level of, say, Naked Gun, High School High, or even Trey and Matt's work on South Park, even Orgasmo. But I don't think it's a 1.5 star movie. Let's be honest, it's much better than that. I wouldn't say it's the comedy of 1998. I still gotta see There's Something About Mary. I know that will be better. But I had dumb fun with this movie. And I laughed more than I thought I would. And I'll get into why I like it. There's stuff I dislike about it, but all around, could have been a lot worse. But with the cast of this film, you got Trey Parker and Matt Stone, as I said, the creators of TV South Park. Before this, they had some hands in acting, Cannibal the Musical to be specific, Orgasmo. They're also working on the South Park movie. Dian Bachar, who was also in Cannibal the Musical. He was also in Orgasmo. Yasmine Bleeth from TV's Baywatch is in this. Jenny McCarthy, who's done a bunch of TV work like the MTV show Singled Out, her short-lived sitcom Jenny. Robert Vaughn's in this from The Towering Inferno, Superman 3, The Spy with My Face, They Call Me Renegade, and even Joe's Apartment. Ernest Borgnine, surprisingly, is in this too. Escape from New York, McHale's Navy, The Dirty Dozen, of course, All Dogs Go to Heaven 2, he was Carface after Vic Tayback passed away, and he would continue that in the TV series. You also have some cameos from sports legends themselves, such as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Reggie Jackson himself, and even Robert Stack has a small role. Yes, I know not a sports legend, but still a great actor. Robert Stack, this is the guy from Beavis and Butthead Do America. I want full cavity searches all around. Always loved that. He was also in Unsolved Mysteries and Airplane. So you got some legends in this movie. But the plot of this movie is basically we meet these two guys named Doug and Joe, played by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who are two sports-loving slackers that live in the shadow of their high school classmates who are moving ahead of them in life. Most of the day they spend it playing this game they created called BASEketball, a game where the player has to get the ball in the hoop while another player has to try to get them distracted, and they see if the distraction succeeds in getting them to miss the shot. And they end up making this game a phenomenon that gets people to the front of their driveway to watch them play. And soon, this guy named Ted Denslow, played by Ernest Borgnine, comes in and makes a deal with them to make the game into a nationwide sport and get a team out of this whole deal, which he succeeds in doing. However, during one of those games, Ted ends up dying, and he gives the team to Doug. This angers this businessman named Baxter Kane, played by Robert Vaughn, who basically sets out to sabotage the sport, all the while getting with Ted's widow, played by Jenny McCarthy. And he tries using every attempt to sabotage the game, all the while Doug and Joe start dealing with their own qualms as they find themselves feuding over this woman named Jenna, played by Yasmine Bleeth, who runs this Make-A-Wish organization for kids that are dying. And pretty much the two need to put their qualms aside and they need to see past Baxter's schemes in order to get the game won. Will the two lead the Bears to victory, or will Baxter succeed in getting the team destroyed and ruin the spirit of BASEketball. Now I know, it does sound stupid, and believe me, it is. But I can't be mad at it if it wasn't as funny as it was. That's the thing with it. Because, in all honesty, there's a lot of stupid shit with the jokes. There's a lot of dumb stuff that some people will just roll their eyes at. I mean, some of it I did laugh at. But there's a sense of smartness to some of the humor, which I'll touch upon later. But I like the fact that the story itself is not the typical sports movies, focusing on a sport that people have never heard of, and really having fun with the idea in place here. I like the idea of the game being this mix of basketball and baseball, where when the player has to shoot into the hoop, the other people, they're insulting them or doing something stupid. And it brings the game into this raunchy edge that makes it entertaining to watch, as well as different. I also like the idea of these two guys who are slackers making a name for themselves out of a game they created that gets them to the top. And you see one becoming greedy, the other trying to keep on with why they love playing the game in the first place. And in that area, you start to see the movie lampoon the sports genre a bit with the opening and how it makes fun of just how commercialized everything is now, with the fact that the stadiums become a marketing ploy for materials and the fact that teams relocate to higher profit areas. I like this line when they talk about the places they relocate to and they go, "The Jazz moved to Salt Lake City where they don't allow music. The Oilers moved to this area where there is no oil." So there's some witty banter to this movie that you could tell Trey and Matt contributed to the script with. And even the small Looney Tunes-like moments that the film has, in particular the hospital scene, which I won't spoil, I got some chuckles out of. Now, that being said, some aspects of the script and the jokes don't really work for me. And you can tell that these are the moments that Trey and Matt did not write, but rather David Zucker. And while there are some funny moments with some of his writing, there's some that just don't land as well and really feel like they belong in a completely different movie. And as a result, it makes the comedy feel a bit uneven in certain sections. You have other moments where they go to this woman in the opening where she's having her high school reunion and they start going through what they think is her underwear drawer, and there's a vibrator in there, and what do you know? It's revealed that it's her mom's drawer. Or later on, there's another part where they're in a locker room naked, and they're talking with Robert Vaughn, and the joke is, because they're butt-ass naked, their dicks are low to the ground. I am not making this up. Watch the scene, you will see what I'm talking about. They have long dicks that touch the floor, and Robert Vaughn is blackmailing them naked. And because it's so long, he walks to grab something, it almost touches goddamn Robert Vaughn. And I have to see both of their white pale ass. Hairy is the wrong word. I'm putting too much in. Ew. I could have gone through my whole life without seeing that. But those are the moments where the film really suffers and it just isn't funny. And it makes me wonder, like, if they had Trey and Matt insert their jokes, why didn't they just have them rewrite the whole script with input from David Zucker on what he wanted? Because the stuff they added were funnier than anything that David and his group came up with. I don't know if Trey or Matt were worried if they rewrote the whole movie, they were going to take it away from David and his group, or the studio wouldn't let them. But the film just came across as really uneven in certain sections because of the humor they inserted and David Zucker's humor. It feels unbalanced in certain areas. But besides that, I will say, the story is an interesting take on the sports genre, and I'm not going to sit here and lie and say when I did laugh when I did. It's just there are some moments that could have been removed or retooled tool. Besides that, on a technical side of things, I think this is a well-made movie. David Zucker really brings a lot of energy to this movie. I think his direction and the sports sequences of the movie is really done well. He gives those scenes a lot of energy. He knows what shots to use in those moments that really make the game fun to watch, and they aren't just boring. Point the camera here, point the camera there, shorter shots. It really feels like he's using the best shots in those moments, and I think it also helps because he's interjecting comedy into those sports sequences. It makes the sequences less boring, and it makes those sequences bouncy. And what he's able to get out of the actors in these moments, especially with the insults being thrown their way from one person to the other, I think he knows how to bring out the energy in his crew. I feel like the sets of those segments, whether they were built or an actual stadium, I think look good. The way they're shot, whether it's to hide the fact that it's a sound stage or to show how big it is, I think he directs those well in establishing locations. The movie is definitely on PC, and it doesn't shy away from showing beautiful women in almost all the stadiums. So if that's your thing, you're in for a ride. So there'll definitely be a little hanky-panky if you're a male. But besides that, the moments that are dealing with more physical sort of Looney Tune-esque comedy involving Trey and Matt that are sort of reminiscent of David Zucker's work in the Naked Gun movies, because there's a lot of exaggerated sort of reactions to situations that any other movie would take seriously in the same way the Naked Gun movies would do that angle, like the aforementioned hospital scene. But there's another moment later on in the film where it's this sad moment. You hear on the radio Trey doing this song by his band, DVDA, kind of poking fun of this sort of moment with the whole, your life is spinning out of control, seems the whole world is out to get you, everything is wrong, nothing seems right, there's a sinking feeling inside you, even his best friend has turned his back, which is directed so funnily. That is where I think David Zucker's comedy works. And what he is able to get out of Trey, his reaction to the song being about him and him driving, and you have the whole, look out ahead, there's a truck changing lanes, you got some yellow crumbs on your upper lips, and it gives him the motivation to fight for his team. Those are definitely the funniest stuff that David, I think, gave. But at times, the comedy is so inconsistent, because it also spreads into directing, because there's some points that directing feels like it's for Naked Gun, because the way the film is directed feels like it belongs in a Naked Gun movie, with these sound effects being used at particular moments, or particularly the dick scene, which kind of reminds me of that scene in Naked Gun with Leslie Nielsen looking over that woman with the long legs. Like, that feels like it belongs in that movie. This just feels like it was put there just to get a laugh or something. Like, oh, look at the dick. And then and it especially is true the directing. Like I said, it's more suited for those scenes. And it's distracting when you have the opening of them making fun of sports and commercialism, followed by a scene in the movie where these two announcers are making jokes about their nipples being hard, or a background extra doing something stupid. And I think that has to do with a lot of the writers involved in this movie and why it's so inconsistent, including Trey and Matt. And part of me wonders if they had a hand in directing some aspects of the film, but they're not saying, because there's definitely moments when it escapes like David's directing, when it's more involving the commercialism stuff, or even like the ending scene with Dian Bachar giving that speech. That feels like something out of South Park. And it just makes me wonder if they directed those portions, but they're not saying it. Because the best directed portions of the movie involve comedy that sounds like they wrote. Not to say the moments when it seems like David Zucker wrote it are bad, because they're not, as some did get a chuckle out of me, but it feels like it belongs in an entirely different movie, despite the ambition behind it. I will say, though, the best part of this movie is definitely the acting. I do feel a lot of props have to go to Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Both of them do excellent jobs as the two leads. I think since the two have a history together, they play off each other greatly in this movie, as you see them as these two guys who, let's face it, are two losers who do love sports, but at the same time are looked down upon by their classmates as they've all moved on, but they're stuck in this high school phase of life, fixating on sports and playing Nintendo, as they put it, like the scene at the party, like where they're talking with their friend, and they ask him, "You're still doing Nintendo?" And he's talking about this career path he went on, and he's asked, "What have you guys been doing?" And he goes, "Playing Nintendo." And yes, you can kind of understand why they're disowned, especially when they go as far as to do that stupid scene with the Crush's underwear drawer. Yes, you can kind of understand that because that is some fucked up shit. But I think that wears off when you see them challenge the classmates to this game they created, and it gets them recognition, even though at first they're like, why aren't we getting the chicks even though we won? But then the game grows into this huge phenomenon, and I like the fact that the movie shows their love for the game changes them, and that starts with Joe sticking by the rules and maturing himself, while Doug, Matt Stone's character, becomes self-absorbed and starts letting his selfishness get the better of him. And the movie pokes fun at aspects in the sports genre a little bit there through their characters. And I think the two succeed at what the movie wants them to do. Despite the perverted stuff in the opening with them, it does take some time to show the human side of them, and I think the two just did very well together. I would have liked to see what Chris Farley and David Spade would have done, but I think they're good in their own way. Because the back and forth between them in this one, like when they're both hitting on Yasmine Bleeth, and Coop is obviously getting closer with her, and Reamer tries to jump in and cock block him, and she brings up how she's going to this hospital because, as I said, she works with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and he goes, "I love hospitals, I'll come too." And he goes, "No, you don't. You like Taco Bell." And he goes, "That's not true. There was this one hospital in France we went to." And Coop goes, "That was a hostel." Again, any other actor playing that, whether if it was Pauly Shore or just anybody I could think of at the top of my head, they would have made it a lot more annoying, but I think their chemistry really makes them a lot less annoying than you think, especially with how they work with the comedy side of the movie and the physical side of the comedy, like them poking each other, getting rough with each other, and getting into these physically demanding portions of the comedy, and doing the sports themselves, throwing insults at the players, which does include some of their South Park characters, so I like that touch. Again, it would have been interesting to see Chris Farley and maybe David Spade, since the two are a great duo, but Trey and Matt are great in their own way, and I think with what they brought to the movie, you can definitely tell they're giving it their all, especially since this is their first big studio movie. Robert Vaughn is the villain in this, and he's a lot of fun as this guy who wants to destroy the BASEketball sport, and he's this snobby rich guy who has all this sports memorabilia, including Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in a glass case, which is literally him in this case, and he's sitting in there alive. You can tell he's having fun with this role, including the moments he shares with Jenny McCarthy when he's telling her, "We're going to go back to my place, we'll clean the floor," and you think that's an innuendo relating to sex, but he actually wants her to clean the floor and polish the floor. There's some great moments there where he brings in this uptight business and wealthy individual side to the character in certain scenes that you love to hate, and he just does it very well. Robert Vaughn is definitely a capable actor. Like I said, Jenny McCarthy's in this as Ernest Borgnine's wife. She's fine. She's not that much of an actress. I do like the whole thing at the end when she hears the speech by Deidre Bader and she turns on Robert Vaughn and he goes, "You can kiss these puppies goodbye," as she points to her tits. There's not much to say about her, but she's there. Again, not really much of an actress, though. I think of the woman in this movie, the surprising thing is Yasmine Bleeth does the better job, as she has more to do, and she has a character to her, as you see her as this woman who works with this sort of Make-A-Wish foundation, and she ends up becoming the love interest of the two, which of course she ends up with Trey. I think her and Trey shared some good chemistry at the end, at times cute scenes, and I thought the kid actors she worked with are very good. They definitely had some fun moments. I do think, though, one of the best things about the movie is Ernest Borgnine. He should have been in the movie more, as it feels like he's out of the movie too quickly. But he's this guy who manages to get the team going to the big leagues. I like how he's introduced and he goes up talking to them and he touches upon how the game will go big, and he talks about how kids today have interest that disappears in nanoseconds. And it shows Matt Stone staring at a bird like this. I love that. It's always great to see Ernest Borgnine in a film like this, and he got some smiles out of me. Other actors, you got Idris Bader as this guy who they let join the gang, and they keep picking on the guy, like when he tries to do an interview and the team ignores him. Everyone's calling him names. He's a lot of fun, especially his ending where he tries to talk some sense into them, and he's like, "Stop this madness! Stop this madness!" And he gets shot up into the air and into the fireworks. Again, not that much of an actor, but he does well for what he has to do. Robert Stack even has a small role, playing himself as the host of America's Most Wanted, where he's talking about Cooper. Baseball legend Reggie Jackson plays himself, and he becomes the reason Coop loves the sport. Dale Earnhardt's in here for a bit. So there's a lot of sports legends in this movie and a lot of very established actors, and you'll have a great time searching for them. And then all of them do great for their roles given. Again, nothing special, but still very good. Besides that, in terms of effects, they look good. It's not an effects-heavy driven movie, but the stunts for the most part look very good. The sports portions, I think, implement a great deal of stunts, a lot of which I think look practical. And the design of the basketball itself, I like, being this combination of a baseball and a basketball. I thought it was a really funny design, but it also looked very cool. Again, not much to say about effects, as there isn't too much of them, but the ones I do see do look good. But yeah, I don't think this is that bad of a movie. It's definitely not one you're going to go in and laugh crazily about, but it's not as bad as I think everyone makes it out to be. And I think a lot of that has a lot to do with Trey and Matt's contributions to the film that really benefit it. But as I said, because they only have done portions of the film, in some areas it just comes across as inconsistent, and it just feels like two completely different movies trying to fight for center stage. And that's because of the contributions Trey and Matt made. And of course, another thing I didn't like, Jenny McCarthy. Someone else could have done it better. But besides that, those are my only problems with the film, because bottom line, and while not up to the level of Naked Gun or Trey and Matt's other work, South Park especially since I'm looking forward to the movie, BASEketball is a funny sports romp that, while inconsistent, still gets the team a point to winning, and it definitely deserves it. It would get an 8 if the comedy was a little bit more consistent. So when it came to rating this film, I had a hard time, but I cannot give it no more than a 7.5 out of 10. Again, it's not bad. It's definitely not the type of film you're going to want to bleach your eyes to, but it's definitely one that could have used a bit more time in the oven, but still a fun time. But all that aside, that is my review for BASEketball. And as I said in my last video, I said my review of Turok is coming. I'm going to work on that soon. For those who want to see that, be on the lookout for that once I beat it. I am going to be working on a review, though, of Disturbing Behavior, as that's a film I want to review. Tonight, I am going to be checking out Blade, so you're going to get my thoughts on that. But yeah, be on the lookout for those reviews. With that said right now, I will see you guys later. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of BASEketball. Did you guys enjoy it? Did you guys find it funny? I'd love to know you guys' thoughts down below. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next part, or the next video. Bye.